Let's have a look at using the inquiry tool from within Sage 300 ERP. The inquiry tool is designed to let end users build reports without having to learn complex database languages. Please note that the inquiry tool is available exclusively from within the Sage 300 ERP portal. In this example, we are going to build a report that shows the customer transactions. This report will show the document number, document date, document amount, as well as the customer number and the customer name. To begin using the inquiry tool, click on Inquiry. A list of templates, data domains, will be shown here on the left-hand side. In this case, since we are going to be reporting off of accounts receivable, we're going to select AR customers and transactions. And on the right-hand side, we have what are called query templates. A template is just that. It's a template that contains a predefined list as to what is going to be shown on that report. When we cursor over the appropriate template, we can see that the appropriate description is listed. So the template that is listed on the left-hand side is the customer documents in customer currency, whereas the template that is listed on the right-hand side is the customer documents in functional currency. Let's click on Customer Documents, Functional Currency. The following window appears. You'll notice that a new tab is going to open up called Customer Documents Functional Currency. The first section shows filters, so there are currently two filters that are highlighted. If we scroll down, we can actually see the results section. Currently, we can see on this report that the customer number, customer name, the account set, currency, document type, document number, document date, functional currency total, and a few other fields are all displayed. We don't want all of these fields to exist on our query, so I'm going to click on Customize Results. The following window will appear. A list of available fields that we can report on are listed on the left-hand side. The current fields that are showing up on the query are listed on the right-hand side. We'll begin by removing all of the current fields. I can easily select all of these fields by pressing and holding Shift between the first and the second field here. So in this case, the customer number is the first field. If I press and hold the Shift button and then click on Shipment Number, all of the fields will be selected. I'll click on Remove to remove all of the selected fields. Now again, it's a requirement that on this query we need the customer number and name. So what I can do is I can press and hold the Control button while selecting all of the appropriate fields. So I'm going to select my customer number, customer name. I also need the document number. So I'll scroll down until I find the document number. And again, I'm pressing and holding the Control button as I select the appropriate fields. I also need the document total and the document date. Now that I have all 5 fields selected, I'm going to click on Add. The required fields now are listed in the Current Fields section. When I click on OK, all of those fields are now being returned onto this report in this section. If I wanted to be able to group the appropriate data, let's say for example by customer number, I simply cursor over the customer number column, I'll click on the drop-down arrow, and then I'll select Group by this field. And I can see that the data is now being grouped based on the customer number. If I wanted to add a subtotal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cursor over the column that I wish to subtotal. In this case, it's the functional currency document total. I'll click on the drop-down arrow, and then I'll select Show Summaries. You'll notice that the minimum, maximum, count, subtotal, and average are all showing as my summary. In this case, I only want the subtotal to show up. So again, I'm going to modify that selection by simply cursoring over that column, clicking on the drop-down arrow, and then removing all subtotals except for subtotal. So that's how I create a query where the customer number is being grouped and again the appropriate subtotals are being shown. If I wish to save the query, what I want to do is I want to scroll up toward the top of the page and I'm going to click on Save. Queries can be either a public query or a private query. If you create and save a private query, that means that only the author of that query can view that query. If the query is saved as a public query, anyone that has access to the inquiry function will be able to view that query. When saving a query, I'm going to specify the query name, for example, AR Transactions. I'll specify whether the query is going to be a private or a public query. In this case, I'll leave it at the public query. So public is selected, and I also want to put in a description for this query. When you cursor over the query, a bubble will appear with the description of this query. I'll also call it AR Transactions. To save the query, click on Save. And the query has been saved. To launch a saved query, click on Inquiry, and then click on the Save tab. The transaction that we saved, AR Transactions, is now showing up as a public query. To run that query, we can simply click on that query.